On this episode of the Mompreneur Show, I'm talking to Raquel Ramirez. She's a wife, a mother to 3 boys, and an online social media coach for female entrepreneurs. I've known Raquel for a number of years, and she's such an inspiration to me, so I'm so excited for you to hear her story. I'm your host, Vicky, and this is the show that features amazing stories of the most remarkable mompreneurs. Thank you so much for joining us. Raquel, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Vicky. I too have been following you for the last couple of years.
It's been a wonderful journey, and I'm so happy that we connected online, and we kind of grew together, I would say, online, right?
Yes. Yes, we connected on social media.
Yeah, and that's the power of social media. Made the most amazing friends on social media, and one of them is you. So I'm really thankful for you. So Raquel, would you like to share your story of maybe where you are now, and then what it took you to get where you are today?
Okay, so like you mentioned before, I did start at real estate right around when the bubble was really hot. Real estate was really hot. And so it was really fun and really easy to make a really comfortable living. However, the bubble burst right around the time I gave birth to my first son, Rockford. And I kind of felt like it was the right time to kind of stay home. It was always something that my husband and I wanted to do, was for me to stay home with my kids. So I did that. I stayed home. And in the process of doing that, I always knew that when I went back to the workforce, I was going to be my own boss, because I had owned a real estate company, and I was really happy doing that. I mean, it's hard work. Don't get me wrong. It's hard work, but you still call the shots and you're still reporting to yourself. So I knew I wanted to do that. So I went back to get my master's degree. And in the process of doing that, I thought, oh, how clever of me to have my thesis on how to integrate social media into your business strategy. Well, this was 2013. So at the time, social media was still kind of like a luxury department for businesses. It wasn't so much a must-have, you know? So I thought that was really savvy of me, thinking, yeah, people should incorporate social media. And right around that time, I had, mind you, I was in the process of getting my master's degree, and I wanted to eventually start my own bridal shop because, I used to sell houses, so then dresses, kind of the same thing, right? It's a big purchase. So I thought I had it in my mind to have a bridal shop. That was what I was going to do. And in the process of doing that, I had a friend reach out to me telling me her dad needed help with some of his business social media work. And she said, "Well, you have a knack for social media, so will you help him? Will you hear him out?" So I did. I went over, I sat with him. And in retrospect, I can kind of see what I was kind of helping him do was a social media strategy. But at the time, I just thought, this is all I know about social media. I didn't even know the actual name for like a person who did that. And so he hired me on to do his social media stuff. And so I went back and forth with this idea of doing this bridal shop. And I just felt that I made like a ton of bricks. I just felt like that wasn't what was going to be for me. I felt God just told me that's just not going to be it. It just didn't suit the dynamics of my family and the dynamics of my family. So I thought, okay, I guess the bridal shop is not going to happen. It's just not going to be conducive to how we run our family. And so that door was closed, and I was kind of like, well, now what? I've been going to school. What am I going to do? And then I thought, well, wait a minute. I already have a client for social media, so maybe I should explore that. And so I did. I started kind of looking into a little bit more about social media. And I have a real dear friend, Megan, who always says, Raquel, when you dive into something, you dive into 110%. So I gave it 110%. I went online and I searched for, a social media management school. And I did. I found Social Media Manager School, and it's been an amazing investment. It's been just a priceless community, and it's ran by Andrea Vall and Phyllis Carr. And I tell you, they're just a plethora of just genius experts in that group. So I felt more comfortable and confident to pursue that. And I started as a social media manager and quickly found that even though I really appreciate the back end of running all the social media managers, and all entrepreneurs should really know what happens in the background, I felt that there was one area of me that just wasn't nourishing my soul. And I think that had to do a lot with being on one-on-one with people, connecting with people, you know, whether it's live or virtual. I really love being in front of people and training and teaching and speaking to them. So slowly but surely, I think those opportunities kind of came about, and I started being asked to speak in different places. Ironically, I had brokers reach out to me in real estate to go back to their offices and teach social media. So, you know, it's one of those things when you have a small business or you're a solopreneur, you can really stay nimble and fluid with how the amalgamation of your brand kind of evolves your business. And so where I thought, okay, I'm going to be dealing with realtors, and that's who I'm going to serve. And then it changed. Okay, I'm going to deal with, you know, moms. Okay, I'm going to deal with female entrepreneurs. So I think I kind of felt my comfortable place now working with female entrepreneurs. It's been just such a blessing to me to be able to help them. And then I also teach at an adult school, teaching other solopreneurs or how to use social media for the business. So that's a long way of saying that's kind of how I got started to where I am today.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. So some of the story that you said, I did not know about. So thank you so much for sharing. So it's very interesting. You finally made up your mind to go into social media. And that's the thing, Raquel, I feel like, wasn't it like the hardest time in your life? Like when you're like trying to figure out the direction where to go. And I feel like there's so many moms in that. I mean, so many entrepreneurs in general in that phase. And like, I've been in that phase so many times. And I remember talking to a few entrepreneurs, and I was like, this is so weird. Like, I hate being here. Like, I'm trying to decide what direction to take. And I don't remember who it was. It was at Good Life Project Camp a few years ago. And he said, well, Vicky, what do you mean? He's like, this is the entrepreneurial life. Like, you always have to figure out what's next. Like, that's the thing, is that in a few years later, you're going to figure out what you're going to do right now. And a few years later, you're going to come to the same spot. You're going to wonder, okay, what direction should I go now? He's like, it's always about like making that decision. So I really appreciate you sharing that, because I feel like it's a really bad place to be in. It's a really hard and challenging place. But once you do decide that's what you're going to do, it feels so good. You feel so clear on where you're going. But then if you're in that stage right now as a mompreneur, like trying to figure out what's the next step in my business, or how do I create a business, or what is the business that I want to create? Like, don't fret. Like, just go deep inside, pray about it. Like, really ask yourself, what is it that you want to do? Because you already know deep inside, you just have to find it. And so I really appreciate you sharing that. So now you go into social media management, you went to that school. Can you tell us a little bit about that school? Because social media management is not like a thing where you have to go to business school to get a degree in. It's just something that you can learn at home and learn on your own terms. And it's interesting that you mentioned you went to school, because that's very smart, because I didn't go to school. I just went to like the VA training, which is virtual assistance training. And I learned like everything all across the board, techie. But it wasn't specifically to management, social media management. And I learned a lot through trial and error. And so like, I applaud you for doing that. And can you share us about like the school and what was your experience like? Maybe the amount of investment that you had to make, and you said that it was all worth it. Can you share us a little bit about that? Because I'm sure there's so many moms here. Like, it's such a great place to start, like, who are social media savvy.
Yeah, and first of all, there is, like, if you go to college or community college, there's going to be the social media departments or social media majors, but it's going to be mostly in theory, because they're teaching it more at like a corporate level of how you kind of incorporate social media into like a bigger brand, not so much the solopreneur journey. So if you're thinking about venturing on with your business and pursuing social media management, then social media management school, and this is with, again, Andrea Ball and Phyllis Carr, who are influencers in social media. I mean, they're one of the big people in social media, and they have, I mean, that aside, all the connections that you have with them. But essentially, it's their modules. And as the years progress, I mean, I took it in 2013. We had, I think it was like 6 modules, and every module takes you start from how to attain clients, you know, what do you do to clients, to what kind of management tools do you use to help you stay organized, to what are the strategies for, let's say, the big social media platforms like Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, how to really leverage those platforms. So when you're done with the course, then you take a test, and then you get a certification, which is really neat. Then you get to get this really cool emblem that you display on your website. But that is only half of the win, I thought. Because the other half came when you get this family, this community of people, and every year, because they open it once a year, and they give you 2 options. I believe one is right now to take it live with the class who's starting it, or there's the other option to take it on your own. And for me, I took it on my own back in 2013 because I was also trying to finish my master's degree, and I was really excited to do this, and so. But yeah, so it just depends what kind of student you are and how your time is managed and how you manage your time. Because of course we have kids and things get tricky. So yeah, so it's just up to you how you want to take the course. But then I really want to focus on the community, because the community you belong to, which I think it's coming to like almost 900 people, you have all these people who specialize in different areas. You might discover that you want to focus on SEO, or you want to focus on Google AdWords, or you want to focus on just Facebook ads. Whatever your strength is or your interest is, you could dive into that. And if a customer client comes to you and says, well, I really want to explore Pinterest, and let's say, or you're going to do a presentation on Pinterest, which by the way happened to me, and I wasn't really savvy on Pinterest. And I had one of the women in the group who is actually an influencer, Cynthia Sanchez. She reached out to me and said, hey, I'll sit with you in Skype and I will help you out. And I just thought, oh my goodness, like when else would somebody reach out to me? I know Kim Garza's in that group too. And so I just felt like, oh my goodness, not to mention again, Andrea Ball and Phyllis Carr, I have access to them, which is really in today's day and age, it's really hard to just say, hey, stop and listen to me. And they've just been super encouraging when creating our own products and creating your website, just to kind of direct you and handhold you almost, and really, really supporting you and encourage you. And that is really what you need when you're starting something.
That's true.
It's scary and you're like, what the heck am I doing? Am I a loser? Why did I start this? I think my investment on it, I think at the time was like $297, I think. And it's evolved. They've added a lot more. And there's this 2 price points, which is the one for the live one, or if you're taking it on your own. And I think they just closed the doors, but I'm sure, Vicky, we could share the link to that so that next they open their doors, and they want more information on that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Raquel, for sharing that. It's a huge step. And so like, if you're literally at 0, that's something that our viewers can look into. Now, so when you join that group, the community, I agree, the community is a huge part of success. I feel the same way. Like, to have influencers really take interest in you and help you out is incredible. And it feels so good. And I pray that I never forget where I came from, and that I do the same to those who are starting out. So now, going back a little bit, so how did you start getting clients? Because that's the biggest thing. Okay, you have the education, you have what it takes, you have the knowledge, you have the tools, but what is your first step to getting the clients?
Okay, so first and foremost, I used a lot of the same applications that I did when I was starting when I was a real estate agent. And the first thing they tell you is, let people know what you're doing, because just because you started this new venture doesn't mean everybody's already going to know.
Exactly.
So get it out there and let your friends and family know, because honestly, when you're just getting started, it's going to be scary. You're going to do your pro bono work. You're going to do things for free. You're going to mess up a lot,
Yeah.
And so you want to just let people know what you're doing. And when they're your friends and family, they'll be a little bit more graceful and a little bit more patient with you because you are just starting. And so definitely do pro bono work, get out there and be comfortable in what you're doing, exploring. I felt that I looked out, I got my first client before I even realized that I wanted to do social media.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of from that, it kind of evolved and I started getting serious with all my social media platforms. So I would encourage everybody to have a cohesive social media branding where your pictures look the same, you have the same handle on all of them, and people can find you really easily and they could see, oh, it's the same person that I'm following on Instagram and on Twitter or on Facebook. And this way they get to see that this is an actual serious thing for you. You're a professional, because a lot of people, specifically in social media, if you're saying, hey, I'm teaching social media, but yet your social media accounts look like there's no one there.
And it's so funny. It happens so often because it's so much easier to tell people what to do instead of doing it yourselves. So what was your, I guess, second client? How did you get your second client after you've done all the work and did the training?
Yeah, I think I got my website up, and I think one of them kind of trickled in through my website. So kudos to SEO and just having your keyword search there and being able to be found. And this, I do have to point out, when you are creating your website, you do have to take your about page very, I guess, to heart, because when people go to your website, your about page is the second place that they will go to. They want to make that connection. When you're a social media manager, you will be dealing with the person directly. So they have to be able to trust you and like you and kind of know you. So your about page really helps them to get to know you quickly. And if you're able to place a video there, that's great, because then they actually get to see you and hear you and see if they're going to be able to get along with you. And so your story that you place there in your about page, I think that's something that I really, really took my time in doing, is crafting my story on my about page, because I wanted people to connect with me. I wanted them to hear my story, and I wanted them to see I'm a mom, I have kids, and this is what I'm doing. And I think there was a girl who reached out to me, and she's still my client today, that said, I reached out to you because of your about page. I loved what you said. And so I didn't have to sell myself, and it didn't really talk about my expertise. It just talks about me.
Yeah.
And of the day, that is social media, is one person connecting with another person, and in doing so, you formed a like trust factor. And if you don't have the trust factor in there, then you're not going to get the business.
That's so true. That's so true, Raquel. And the SEO experts say that the about me page is the number one page that people go to on a website. So your about me page is practically the number one page that people go to look at and check you out. So thank you so much for sharing that message. Now, and about being personal and like telling your story and clients buying from you or hiring you based solely on that is completely true. I've experienced that myself. You know how like I used to do a whole bunch of YouTube videos, and I've actually had one of the clients who reached out to me from YouTube said, I watched all your videos, and when I came to this specific video, I knew that you were the right fit for me, and I'm hiring you based on that, like literally. And that video wasn't even about training. It was just like a Merry Christmas type of video. So that's very interesting. So I think that it's very important for us to really show our true self and show our personality, our beliefs, our core values. And I think that you really truly attract the right person. So now, Raquel, let's move forward a little bit. And how did you manage going for your master's degree and doing the training and getting the social media clients while raising a family? Tell us a bit about that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm crazy.
Okay, we already know that.
Okay, we already know that. Yeah, I think my husband is an amazing man. You know, he knows me, and that's one of my priorities, is to cultivate that marriage with my husband. And I think he actually was the one that suggested it. He was working for that college, and he said, why don't you go get your master's degree? And, you know, you only have to pay this much because I work for them. And I just thought, okay, yes, I was pregnant with my third kid. I was raising two, and so I took on this master's degree. And right when I was finishing, I had my newborn and I dived into social media management school. And I wouldn't suggest everybody do that because everybody is different. Yeah. Everybody's level of I guess, attention span is different, or the family dynamics is what I'm going to say is the most important. It comes down to what you and your husband or your family is, what is going to work for your family dynamics. And for us, it kind of worked. I would put the kids in their, nap or activities. And then when they would be kind of laying down or kind of playing amongst themselves, then that's when I would focus on that. Or when my husband was with the kids, then I would focus on my work. And we kind of just, I learned to do it and created a schedule, a mini schedule, which is adaptable, of course, because you have kids. But then that's what kind of made it work to do that. But I would think it is a family effort. It's not something that you could just say, well, for me, at least, it was like, I'm going to do this and you guys just have to deal with it. It was more like, we're going to do this. I mean, my husband was the one that kind of encouraged me to do this. So we said, okay, let's figure out how this is going to work. And it did. It worked.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, because the family dynamics is so important. And I talk about this all the time, is because we're often, like, especially in this world day and age right now, we're taught, like, we women, we're so powerful, we can do anything. Yes, it's true. We are powerful, we can do anything. But the message that is often perceived is that if you want to do whatever you want to do, your business or whatever, like, it's either you or the highway. So it's like a lot of women now say, it's like, hey, it's either me or the highway. Like, it's either my way, or deal with it, like you mentioned. But I think it's so important to also think about your family dynamics. Like, okay, how is my husband? Is he supporting me on this? How are the children? Am I able to give the time and attention to them that I want, or will my business take it away? And I often tell people, like, I'm doing this show because my husband and I are on the same page. Now, if I would want to do the show so bad and my husband was like, honey, I don't think this is the right step for us in this season, like, I would not do it, because the support of my husband is way more important to me than any accomplishment. And so thank you so much for sharing that. It's such a huge message to tell all the moms out there. And, the moms who are married to husbands who are maybe not super supportive about their online business or whatever they're trying to do, bear with it. I think that communication is so important, and continue to communicate with your husband and really put him first, as he's supposed to be first. I feel like in the marriage, and really stress that how much you want to do it. And communication is so important, but never go against what your family dynamics is. So I really, Raquel, that was really powerful. I really appreciate you for sharing that. Now, you mentioned the time, like how you manage the time, and you mentioned that you have some kind of schedule. And what do you use? What does your schedule look like? And then what are some maybe apps or hacks that you use that help you manage your time?
Yeah, well, I'm very much I'm old school. I like my planner, my physical planner. And I try to, schedule everything in, and it has to be, it's our family planner as well. I have to make sure that my husband's schedule and my kids' schedule, everything kind of jives together in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kids were in school. So it was just, for me, it was just getting my master's degree and then studying social media. And I didn't have a lot of projects going on at the same time. And then, of course, the bulk of the time was tending the kids and the chores of my home. Now it's kind of changed a little bit. And this is important to acknowledge as a mompreneur, is that you will have different seasons. You will have different chapters in your life. Some seasons will be harder than others. Some seasons will be like, I can't do anything more. And another season is going to say, how can I bless somebody else? So just hang in there. Sometimes you can only give this much to your business, and sometimes you'll be able to give this much. And sometimes you're blessed that other people are going to come along and help you, and the weight of your work is going to be a lot lighter. So in this season in my life, I have 2 kids in school, and I have a little one who goes to preschool twice a week. And I just try to do any type of work is going to get done when the little one's in preschool. anything like that's home related and the kids are around, I will do it and kind of be around them, getting, chores done. But I think you and like you were saying, your family, your husband need to really be on the same pace as far as what is priority in the home. And in my home is, well, there needs to be food. We need to eat. We need to have clothes washed. But maybe the bathrooms don't get washed as often because, we can actually live with dirty toilets, but we can't live without food. So I think that's also important. I think you mentioned something, Vicky, that I think is super important, is to have that communication with your husband so that that he knows how much you value what you're pursuing and that he knows that you're not putting that before him. And so it makes it easier for him to come along and support you. So I have in my office, I have a family organizer where I do keep all the things in a bigger picture of what's everybody's activities. And as far as tools, I think it's just my iPhone. Anything that is like on a schedule, like my kids' appointments, and I put it on my iPhone so that it can beep off, because that is a priority. Like I need to get the kids to the dentist, I need to get the kids to the doctor, I need to get the kids to wherever they need to be. But if it's something like for my business, of course, it's not going to be dinging off my phone. Maybe it's something that I write down on my to-do list. And in those, to quote Beth Ann Schwamberger from Brilliant Business Mom, she has a book about doing your business and doing a lot of chores in the margins of your life, which is when you're not, as a mom, you're not with your children or you're not tending to your children. Those become the margins of your life. And it's during those times when I try to just bang out anything in work related or anything at home. So, the one size doesn't fit all. I know my system might not be conducive to somebody else's system, but I think just like one planner doesn't work for everybody, but it's just a matter of what's going to work for your style of productivity and for your family dynamics.
All right. So thank you for sharing that. And I love Beth Ann. I'm a huge fan of hers as well. And we're going to get her on the show one of these days too. So thank you for mentioning her. And now we talked about all these great things that you did and the way how you're practically a super mom. Now let's talk a little bit about the challenges that you faced. So what are maybe some mistakes that you've made, challenges, and how you overcame them? I'd love if you could share.
Oh, tons of them. Just trying to think. I think I started just being an overachiever and everything because I dived and I wanted to share this because I think a lot of the times and when we're starting, we kind of overwhelm ourselves with all this stuff that's out there, webs, tools, webinars, and all these books and blogs and I think we kind of just get inundated with all this stuff, and it's a stressor, and that stressor is going to kind of manifest itself with everything else that you do. Yeah. So this was a suggestion that was given to me when I was starting is stop with all the webinars, stop with all these things, stop signing up for stuff, just stop. Focus on maybe one or two people that are really in line with what you're trying to pursue, that are really going to feed whatever it is, the need you have in that moment, and then declutter yourself from all this noise, because that noise is going to just cause you to stress out, like you're not enough, like you're not doing enough for your business. And as a result, I learned the hard way because I was like, I got to have my blog post, every other week. I got to have my newsletter every other week. I got to have this. And I was running everything like a well-oiled machine, but then I was tired. I was stressing out. I was spazzing out. And as a result, like there's things that you have to see that there's going to be action steps that are going to be immediately money-making actions. And then there's some other actions that are long-term money-making actions. So something like a blog or a newsletter, unless you're selling something in the moment, is not going to immediately make money. That's more of a long-term investment. However, if you're creating a product that is ready to purchase, if you're creating a course that people are going to attend, if you're creating your actual product that you're selling and you've got to get it out, or you're managing a client's account like that, those are money-making actions that are priority. Those other things are not priority. And so when you're starting, it's very important to try to differentiate what is a money-making action that I absolutely need to do, and what is something that is in the long run. So when you're a mom, you don't have all this time available to you. They be able to prioritize those tasks that are going to be that are going to weigh more heavily on your revenue right now. And so I think for me, it was, getting so distracted with long term that I missed all these, like, what is the low hanging fruit. So don't negate the low hanging fruit because you're so caught up with wanting to keep up with the status quo, what everybody else is doing. So I think that caused me a lot of discouragement along the way.
Oh my goodness. I can so relate to that. And I think people, some mamas watching can totally relate as well, is that all these trainings, all these webinars, like, oh, so-and-so is teaching on this, so-and-so is teaching on that. But it's so important to have a rule for me is called a rule that I've implemented is called just-in-time learning, which is like, okay, what am I focusing right now in my business? That's what I'm going to learn about if I need to. So for example, if I'm trying to learn Facebook ads, I'm only going to like watch maybe a webinar or two or listen to a podcast based on that topic. I used to be so obsessed with podcasts. That's what I would do. Like earbuds, like 24/7. Well, not 24/7, but you know what I mean? Like always listening to podcasts. But where's the implementation? So I feel like when you are listening or watching something or reading something based on what you're applying it, I think it's much more effective because you can apply that information right away versus just putting everything into your head and having it be in your head. So I really appreciate that. And Sharon from Eden and Faith said the advice is golden. Thank you. So Raquel, that's really great. Moms are reacting to the advice that you've given us, and I really, really appreciate you for sharing that. Now we are literally almost out of time, and you've added thrown so many value bombs here. So I really, really appreciate that. So let's finish up and share what are some of the online tools that help you organize your business and life. And I know you mentioned your calendar, your iPhone. What is it about your iPhone that you love? What are some maybe tools that you use to make your life easier or to make your social media management easier?
Yeah, so if for the people that are interested in managing their own social media accounts or want to pursue a social media management venture, I highly recommend that these are my go-to tools, and they vary in price, but you're going to see some of them are totally worth every single dime. And my first and foremost go-to is, I'm going to give a shout out to Laura Roeder, and she has Meet Edgar. And man, at first it was hard to give up those $50 a month, but you know what? I can't hire an assistant to pay you $50 a month.
Exactly.
And what that tool does for me, it basically has a feature in it that is like no other. And so that is one of my go-to tools if you're thinking of pursuing social media management. Another one is Hootsuite. Hootsuite is awesome for managing your social media accounts and to help you curate new content. So that's another go-to. There's Pablo from Buffer that helps you create your great visuals. Canva, that also helps you create beautiful visuals and helps you just everything to look very professional and very on brand. So for me, those are my hacks because I can go to, and I have so many for just mobile that you can use, whether you're creating video or whether you're editing photos. There's so many apps that are available on your mobile that you can either decide where do you want to manage your social media, on your phone, on your desktop. They're in both places. So it's really awesome to be able to explore these tools that are out there, because people always ask me, like, how can you get all this done? It's like, I get my stuff done and my clients. So you can definitely do this. It's just streamlining and using these tools and then, incorporating them into your social media strategy. And then that's it. You just turn them on and you just let them go.
And I have to brag a little bit about Meet Edgar as well. And it's such an incredible platform. What you do is literally just create a whole bunch of either quotes, graphics, some of the things like, Sharon, you've been posting like things like, come, we have new things or something about your boutique. And you literally put all of that in a bucket And what Me Edgar does is just take stuff out of the bucket and just post it on social media for you. And then he doesn't take it out of the bucket and throw it away. He actually takes it, uses it, and puts it back, and then lets you know which updates are better converting than others. And I mean, it's absolutely incredible. It's super fancy. I'm a huge fan of Laura Roeder, and I don't know, Raquel, if you knew this, but Laura was like my very first online entrepreneur that I've ever followed. And she's the one that actually taught me everything that I know right now. So like totally credit to Laura Roeder. I absolutely love her.
I have to agree. I think she was one of the first people that I followed. And because of her, she did LKR before for her social media site.
Yes.
That's why I did my RMR social media.
Oh,
Like her.
that's so cute.
I know, it's so cute. We're so much alike, Vicky.
We are so much alike. And I've met Laura a few times at conferences and stuff. And I always have to like contain myself, like, Vicky, chill out. Like, she's just like you, like, except, you know, she's been hustling a lot more and a lot longer. And, but yeah, the very first time I met her, I couldn't contain myself. I was like, OMG. Somebody said, Vicky, you should have seen your face when you saw Laura for the first time. That was funny. Anyway, thank you. Thank you so much, Raquel. I really, really appreciate you and for coming on. Where can people find you? And then there's one more thing. What was the thing that you wanted people to share? I'm so sorry. I'm being so awkward about that.
To share as far as?
Yeah, your little freebie. Sorry about that.
Oh, if they sign up for my newsletter, I'm creating Instagram videos, the how-tos to get started on Instagram. So these are going to be coming on a series. It's a free mini video series that's going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks on my newsletter, so they can sign up for that.
And where is that?
Oh, well, we can share a link, I guess, on your website.
Yeah.
But yes, and it's also available if they go to my website at rmrsocialmedia.com. Mm-hmm. I just got to give a disclaimer that my website it's getting revamped. So there's sections of it that are totally done, and there's sections of it that are like, what is going on? So
okay.
I am totally aware of that. So just bear with me. But the homepage is done. So you're able to get sign up for the newsletter there and stay tuned for those free video series. And then as far as getting in contact with me, I made it very easy. I tried to go get my name on every single social media platform, and it's at Raquel M as in mom, Ramirez. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and most active on Instagram, Facebook, and now Snapchat.
Awesome, Raquel. I'm going to have to find you on Snapchat because that's been my go-to social media, because like so often, like, I'm not even on Instagram anymore because it has to be so perfected, but on Snapchat it can be so real and just whatever, just show your life. So I really love Snapchat as well.
And if you totally hate how you look on Snapchat, don't worry about it. It only lives for 24 hours.
I know, right? I love that. Totally. And I especially love that feature, like the filter where your nose is big and your jaw is really tiny and your head is really tiny at the top, like really narrow. For some reason, I really like that look. So I've been doing some videos on that, and my husband thinks I'm super silly, but hey. All right, Raquel, thank you again so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Raquel, and please join us live next time every single Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern for more lively conversations just like this. I'm your host, Vicky Lashenko, and this is the show that features amazing stories of the most remarkable mompreneurs. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you next time.